Almost perfectly timed. So now we're into best of fives, as this is a semifinal. Already a bit into the prize money, but you don't get points until you reach the finals, I believe. In the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, he is Tings and Neeb. In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Denver, playing for Coca's team, I thought. It's like... I'm trying to look for him. Denver is... Unfortunately, Denver not getting through the playoffs this season. Yeah, the Coca Authentique Pipit. So the T always throws me off. So what does the T stand for? What did I just think? Was washed up. I mean, I never appreciated the term washed up because it's like definitely a mean thing to say. So I don't think I've ever actually said someone is washed up. Because generally I try not to be a dick. But I guess some other people just use it in place of not doing so well. And they don't actually mean anything by it, so I don't know. I hated Steins Gate when I started it, but then I tried later with the mindset that every character's a complete dumbass. And then it was a lot better. I do love that. I think that's what I would do too. This is literally what people who love it say. So this is a fact. This is not just me being like a hater. It is one of those shows you have to watch like 8 episodes before it gets good. And to me, I just don't think that's an amazing TV show, even if it gets amazing later. It's like, yeah, I'll suggest it to people who are interested, but if someone's like, oh, I don't want to put that much effort into it, I want to be like, yeah, it's fair. You know, oh well. Just like Wheel of Time, 14 books later, finally pays off. Am I going to make you read all 14 books? No. But anyways, now that it really is just, you know, something that distracts me from running, like, I'll watch anything. Twilight Council coming out here. Denver is going to see that no problem whatsoever. Kind of interesting pylon placements. Kind of, to me, looks like a pylon placement that says, God, I hope I have a backup if he's ling rushing me. As opposed to some more clever placements that have existed. Like, Stats was doing things like putting the pylon here so he could put it over here, which is difficult for the Overlord to spot, but Neeb is going to be going for Resident Enclaves. Denver showed a little bit of weakness to it. Like I was saying before the match started, Denver is just kind of that Zerg player who he's just like theoretically better because we place so much emphasis on macro, right? As that's the better player. So in that way, maybe, but he still gets tripped up, especially versus Protoss, it feels. Versus Terran, I think just overall, he's not quite as good as the guys we see him up against, like Clem and here Marine. But versus Protoss, I feel like he would clobber a lot of Protoss, given a perfectly normal, nothing happens, 7-minute no rush game. I think he would clobber a lot of Protoss. Because Protoss is that tricky race, are you Adepts? Are you DTs? Are you Archon drop? Do you make a lot of Adepts? Do you make little Adepts? Do you follow up with Dark Shrine? Like, there's a couple of different options that they can choose. It feels like Denver, right now, he chooses one of the options wrong almost every time, is how I'll put it. Like, he'll do great against the Adepts, and then he'll not have a Spore Crawl in time for the DTs, or something like that, right? Something just makes you go like, oh, well, that sucks. Alright. Right now, as it is just Adepts, the question is Denver at the right place, the right time? As most Zergs know what to do against this when they find it out. Around 40 drones, maybe they push it to 42. Decent number of lings to actually surround those Adepts, and then the roaches to actually tackle them and kill them. But it's always that question, are they following up with Dark Templars? Are they using the Warp Prism to warp in or harass? Are they warping in at all, or are they just moving on? What's the thing here? In this case, this is very blatantly seen. So queens are going to try and come and take care of it. And Neeb realizes it's not really going to work out, so the Adept is still trying to catch Denver off guard, but so far, not so good. At this point, though, you would say Denver is over-investing into the defense, but I do believe he is actually setting up for a potential counterattack. He's going to make up to 30 lings here. Sorry, 40 lings, because I can do math. He's going to make 40 lings and 12 roaches. That actually seems like quite a bit, but this might go back into the whole, like, it's hard to tell if it's going to be, like, a fuck ton of adepts or just, like, an okay number of adepts. And I guess he figured this is a fuck ton. So he's taking it very, very, very seriously. Finally goes back into droning after all of that. Starts up his lair. But while he does get, you know, it looks okay number-wise, Denver did probably over-defend a little bit. And if he can't use his lings to go on the other side of the map, then, I mean, and they're not going to look very, I mean, there's going to be, not a waste. Waste is not the right word, but they're just not going to do, I guess they're not going to live up to their full potential. Alright? Just like many of us. But no. What would be lovely is if Neeb had actually gotten a faster third, believe it or not. If he had been able to fit that in, because Denver is worried entirely about defending. Would have been lovely for Denver to get across the map and kill this third, but that's the choice that you have to make. I mean, you can use your lings to attack, and you can't use them to defend, and then, so. There's cans of worms all over the place, and you're basically just trying to contain whatever cans pop out first. The lair's finally done. We'll see what Denver goes into. Neeb has not done a lot of direct damage. Finally grabbing 4 drones has kind of been it so far. And then constantly threatening to shade in, but never actually doing it. So at the end of the day, what does this mean? Again, Neeb might have been able to get a faster third, and I think that would put him in a pretty damn good position, because he'd also have been producing 3 probes for the last 30 seconds or whatever. But even with the, you know, quote-unquote nature third, the safer third, use it that way, his economy is really not that bad. Denver is finally up to where he wants to be on the drone count, but it's worth facing exactly that fast, so he's not really utilizing 68 workers perfectly. I think he's got, what, like... I was gonna guess 6. Damn, I should have said it. 6 drones are oversaturated. But... And the supplies would not look that bad for a ZVP. We're like, Neeb's only down 10 supply, it's not bad at all. He's actually moving in right now. Do keep in mind that adepts are a bit questionable as a fighting force. Sometimes they look amazing, and this might be one of those times, and sometimes they're obviously just the leftovers of an earlier attack. In this case, the follow-up is looking pretty powerful. Neeb saving pretty much all of his adepts this entire game. Look at this, he killed 3 adepts, whereas Neeb killed all of this stuff. 5 overlords with 6 overlords? Okay, when the hell did that happen? When the hell did that happen? When the hell did that happen? I know he killed this one. Okay, I missed that entirely. Anyways, Denver is going to use all of his lings to attack the third base that does not have a lot protecting it, but then decides, no, I gotta return home and help out. His 4th base has been denied, and while he's replacing out to the top left, that is still a harsh amount of damage to take. Again, he's not really utilizing his drone count to the fullest. Right there. High tempo is going to live thanks to shield battery. Height, and a recall is going to be used to take care of that. Neeb is not giving up all pressure. He's got a warp prism ready to warp in a couple of units, but Denver's on top of it. The supplies still end up looking quite even, with a lot of Neeb supply being these potentially not fantastic adepts. I think at one point he might just go ahead and segment them off and go for harassment. I think Flav Kadarn is basically calling me a snowflake caster, which is just hilarious. Yes, I'd rather not use the term washed up, and I'd rather say that he's not doing so hot right now. God, what a whiny baby that makes me. Am I right? Am I right? Denver might have not gotten here in the cleanest form possible. Neither is Neeb necessarily. We have gotten to a later stage PvZ, one where I think Denver does start to thrive a little bit more. Neeb has gotten to a max out point 2, so don't underestimate his army, but if Denver could actually get this lurker count up and then use them aggressively, actually get onto Neeb's side of the map, I give Denver a lot of credit at this stage. He's got his 4th base up and running, his 5th base is finally on the way, spreading some creep too. Lurker count up to 7. Probably wants to get more up to like 12, 15. And also wants to get the lurker upgrades, which are not going to be done anytime soon. Hive has only recently started. Warp Prism, I think, has been here the entire time. I'm just waiting for an opportunity, but Denver has been very good about not F2ing his Hydras away. Roaches and Lings, like a bit of a sacrificial squad since the lurkers aren't here too. Which makes sense. Wanted to find maybe a couple more probes with the Lings. Nope. I think we get chopped up. Yeah, I was probably hoping to find Neeb a little more out of position. There is no 5th base to attack yet either, as Denver's lurker count is growing. That can always be a scary thing, is like, oh, I'm dealing with roaches over here, but the lurkers are actually over to the left side. Zealots have been warped in to deal with the 5th base and gets an equal number of drones compared to Denver's run by. A little bit more. Hey, there we go. I was going to say they do want to get a little bit more, so it was like 7 in Zealots. Also opening up a path in the middle, perhaps. Creep spread being cleaned up. Lurkers are forced to retreat back to some protectors. 9 lurkers with no upgrades. No range and no speed. Just that +2 attack. You gotta be a little bit careful. But once they get those upgrades, they look pretty devastating. Something very good on top of this Warp Prism. Oh, Denver's army. Ooh, Neeb has not seen that. Neeb has not seen the army, and that's always a bad thing against lurkers. You don't want to be working against your own chokes. Has a couple of units to protect and a lot of cannon to protect too, actually, so he's probably fine. A couple lurkers anchoring this little roach run by, but a brilliant storm to help push this back. And he could just try and clean that up as this right side is holding. I guess lurker is feeling a little bit hesitant to move in against the number of cannons and reinforcements that could arrive for Neeb in their currently low numbers. And the left side is being cleaned up and the Overlord goes down. Storm is being used to try and weaken up the Hydras. Actually, the Hydras didn't leave. I'm just gonna evacuate. Denver not finding much room there, whereas Neeb is now threatening the top left base. Denver's 4th. Storm's helping to soften up every single unit right there, including the Observer. I gotta be a little bit careful about that. That is a very powerful army. Some Storms, Guardian Shield, a lot of Immortals, but there's also an attack over here. Denver didn't go back home. He went into Neeb's 4th base and has been partially surrounded by reinforcements and main army, or I don't even know what to call it, the main army anymore. 2 lurkers will survive and a recall will have to be used, but I mean, Neeb took down a base, whereas Denver only took down a handful of army units. I mean, some expensive army units, sure. Denver lost a base and 15 drones, also a bit of positioning as he's forced to retreat home and lick his wounds a little bit, only down to 2 lurkers. Has to remake 7, that's all of his mineral bank going into that. Neeb could maybe play this out a little bit more on the ground army and try and really push and pull Denver apart to find more openings against those lurkers. But as they're finishing up their upgrades, actually both of them are already done, that gets a little more questionable every time. It does. So the safer and easier option will be just to go ahead and get into some carriers. But keep in mind that is, they're slow. And now Denver with, oh my god, I think of 14 lurkers right now. Denver having 14 plus lurkers with both upgrades now actually arguably has the more mobile army compared to the carriers, and might struggle to get to a 5th base. That is a lot of lurkers right there. That is 22 lurkers. Oh my god, 22 lurkers. All I had to do was wait for his mineral bank to get up there again. They are very low right now, but there's not enough storms to actually pierce through. Lurkers have quite a bit of health. The carriers aren't quite out yet, and Neeb is about to, I think, give up his base. Ooh, the carriers are here. Carrier has arrived. You don't kill lurkers, I guess, that quickly, but as long as they're target firing, yeah, Denver will eventually have to leave. He's retreating with most of his lurkers intact. After taking down the 4th base, not too many probes went down, and at least Neeb was able to save a bunch of his Immortals. Denver could try and add on some Vipers to help out. There aren't that many feedbacks. There's quite a few feedbacks available. They think Corruptors, I mean, he doesn't have a Spire, right? So Corruptors are out of the equation. He has to get an Abductor 2 in here. Or just hope that he takes such a big surround that he can actually get on top of these carriers. That's a bit more questionable. This War Prism still hasn't done anything. Jesus. I keep expecting it to make some moves, but it's never been allowed to. One Storm to help weaken up the Lurkers. Second Storm to help weaken up the Lurker. Archon gets bopped in the front line, and that's not going to be a location that Neeb can actually push through. I think he's also got to be afraid that Vipers could be on the way, which they finally are. So even though it's tempting to start right-clicking down, or shift-clicking down, the Lurkers with the carriers, it's a little bit too dangerous. Doesn't have a lot of sights on what else is going on. Neeb's finally moving on to a 5th base, but it's kind of one of the ones that's like, I hope he doesn't really see it, or I hope all the action is on the left side. I don't know how long it's really going to last. Couple of very expensive units being caught by Lurkers on the left side. Sentry and Archon goes down. Surprisingly, the Storm could still be saved. Yeah, it tries to do something. But the carrier count now doubled and then some. Went from 3 to 7 with the reinforcements coming in. Neeb is feeling a little more aggressive. He's feeling a little more confident. He still has those feedbacks available as well. Some Zealot harassment on Denver's 3rd. As Denver, I mean, I talked about Neeb's 4th. Denver's actually been only on 4 bases, trying to move on to a 5th. That is currently being denied as that War Prism never did anything in the main base, is now doing something at the 5th, helping the main army as well. The Lurkers can't help against the air, and while they can't help against the ground, I think it might just be too many interceptors. Finally, some Abducts go down to help the Hydras out, and that'll be 2 less carriers to worry about, but after already losing so many Lurkers, Denver went from something like 18 to 6 in this battle, and has not gained access to a 5th base. That was actually killed, not canceled, as it completed. And Denver is definitely in a bit of trouble here. Not a very strong option against the carriers. He was a little surprised by them that they came out so fast and not just 2 or 3 and then 4, but 3 and then suddenly 7. Was not quite prepared to deal with the late game. All of his bank went into a bunch of Lurkers. They didn't actually kill his opponents. And it was not that big of a bank in the first place, because he didn't really have the most amazing economies. And the game has been a little back and forth. Vipers flying into carriers, not what you want to have happen. Every last Viper goes down, and that just might be it for Denver. I don't know how he deals with the carriers otherwise. These carriers have got +1 at least. There's only 6 of them, but they have that mobility on their side, and they're still partially covered by those storms, or entirely covered by the storms, actually, as without any Lurkers, what else is really going to break through? The Hydras could try and micro against him. That is pretty difficult to do, as you can see here. Looks like some Lurkers have been used to harass Neeb's 4th base and kill 22 probes. Really ain't bad. One of them might even still live. Or not. Nope, not gonna win against that charge lot. Neeb's 5th base. I thought it was a bit of like a, okay, I hope you don't find it. But it actually has lived this entire game. Currently even on workers, but Denver's army is in question. He doesn't have that many Lurkers. He's finding it difficult to afford Vipers. He doesn't have that strong of an option against the carriers who are trying to work their way to +3 ship weapons. Which would be quite scary. It's a big recall against a couple of Hydras. Perhaps fearing that there was more with those Hydras. Just Hydras, you know, they can sometimes not look that great against a handful of Zealot Warpins, but if there were a couple Lurkers with them, that's where things really spiral out of control very quickly. This opens up Denver's army to actually head over to that right side. They were so contained, they're being pinned back, that Denver didn't get anything over here, and he hasn't made lings in quite some time. So finally moving the might of his army to the right to deny this 5th base. That is Neeb's only 5th. You know, he wasn't working on a 6th as well, and this game is definitely not over, but it feels like whenever there is an actual fight, just fight to fight, that Neeb has a strong chance to win that. Now, Denver is working on 4 more Vipers, so that actually is kind of changing here. He definitely was going to win it when there was no Vipers, and with 3 Vipers, it was like, it's getting there. Now he's up to 6, going on 7 Vipers. Actually, maybe Denver can make this work. We'll see what the feedbacks look like. We got 3 High Templars, so they gotta choose feedbacks or storms. A couple more drones go down to Denver's 4th base. He's trying to get to a 5th in the middle left, and that's actually kind of a base that sometimes isn't scouted, just because the way you're moving around the map. So that could get to mining, but Denver's got to get back up to a bigger drone count, only at 47. True, he's only mining off of 1 base right now, but it doesn't feel too good to be sub-50 drones as a Zerg player in almost any stage of the game. Hydras are going to look to tear down the cannons over here, and they would be able to without any support, but there's also a couple carriers and a couple of storms. Neeb's main army isn't actually all of his army. excellent defense against this. Just a single lurker that was going to try and help out against any zealot orphans, but can't help out against the carriers. And Neeb is just going to secure this bottom right side again. So Neeb has a bit of a scouting problem right now. He sees his opponent, you know, locked down on 4 bases for a long time, and certainly this has not been a great time for Denver's economy. It's been okay enough to afford a 5th, it's just that Neeb doesn't know about the 5th. So Neeb sees 4 bases and thinks, okay, he's got to be mining out soon. There's no way you can remake all the lurkers and also some vipers. He could be misjudging the situation. That said, I don't know if he really should feel confident enough to just move out wherever he wants, because clearly Denver does still have an army. So you can understand Neeb's point of view here. He wants to get his 5th base set up and running, give him a little bit of wiggle room in that bank, and then maybe he can go back on the field and start doing some harassing as well. So Dark Shrine did finally finish up. I'm gonna check out the economy graph. I guess this is when the 4 to 5th base was happening before the attack, and then this was probably where the attack happened. Neeb's been slightly winning the income war. It's definitely not something that's so tremendous, so one-sided. They seem to be quite evenly matched. Neeb gonna add in some Tempest to help out with that range. They can help take out some Vipers. They can help target down the Lurkers. But they're also slow and chunky, and Vipers could abduct them too. Neeb's 6th base should be this one. That's exactly what he's setting up for. If the army fights were ever to change over to the right side, then maybe Neeb would take the left side, but currently that's where Denver is taking his expansion, so he wants to control the left side. Makes a lot of sense. Working on just pretty much pure Hydra Lurker. Here we have a lot of Vipers, a lot of health. Alright, back up to 12 Lurkers as well. Definitely better than the 3 or 4 there was for a little bit there. More units being dragged in. Kind of whatever Denver wanted. I think one was a High Templar, another one was an Immortal. DTs are being spread out, and this is going to get really gross really soon. 1 DT in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and then the entire army moves over to the right side, and Denver is forced to retreat, try and deal with this, but no easy recall button. It's going to take a little while. He will lose control of his 5th. All the drones are going to die as well, and now he's running into a prepared Neeb. Neeb, if he's going to take the fight, he's got to make sure to take out those Vipers, and he's not going to take the fight. He's going to like, I'm out of here. Recall is used, so the base goes down. The DTs are getting drones on the transfer, and Denver, ooh, more than ever before, I think, is in a desperate place. He's got to get at least a cancel on Neeb's 6th. He finally cleans up the DTs, but that was a big loss right there. And he was finally getting another bank back up. Like I said, I think he's got to take out a base, but he's not going to be able to. If he can't do that, then can he actually win this game? Neeb's right side army is looking pretty strong as the Vipers of Denver are still lacking a bit behind. There they are now. Can they make the big difference here? The base is going to be denied. Revelation is going to be taken out thanks to the abducts. A little bit just getting beatbacks of glorious, and that is going to be it. As Neeb also is hitting the left side. Denver is forced to tap out. GG. Very evenly matched here. Dude, apparently Mana is 2-2 against Hero Marine. That's pretty impressive. I would be really shocked if Protoss was the race to dethrone Hero Marine. I would have given it to Zerg for any amount of money. It looks like Mana's proxy isn't going to work out that well. I can't believe Mana is going to Void Ray proxy Hero Marine. The cheeky bugger! I'll cast this game when it's actually ready, but I am watching the other game. Doesn't look so good for Mana. And of course, you guys will be hearing this in a 2-minute delay. So, I think Mana loses that one. We'll see. Ice and Chrome for game 2 in this best of 5 semifinal. Top right, he is Denver. On the bottom left, we got Neeb going for the fastest probe block possible. Denver just can't get a hatch, basically. I think Denver is one of the Zergs I've seen go for a 15 or even 14 hatch or whatever it takes to not be blocked out by a probe that's coming this fast. And I honestly do chalk that up to, God, I don't want to deal with this. I don't. Because I've seen at least 2 Zergs, and again, I think Denver was one of them, who has done like a pre-Overlord or Overlord then immediately hatch, basically. And both times, they did not use it aggressively. So that's why I chalked it up to just them going like, fuck this, I don't want to deal with this. But the ugly truth is that you kind of have to deal with it. You kind of have to be prepared, as most Protosses are putting this in their book of build orders and their book of bullshit, is the very fast probe. I like the Protoss players who don't do it every single time, though, personally. So, well, I really enjoy Mana and Mana's playstyle, and it'd be really sick if he took down Hero Marine. The one thing I don't like about Mana's PvZ is that he does the probe block every single time. But that's neither here nor there. Whoever wins this could be facing Hero Marine or Mana, so I guess it's a little bit topical. A little bit. It's a little bit related. Personally, I would like to see the Terran make it through because Terran, but on the other hand, I would hate for Hero Marine to give a great TDP in the semifinals and then just absolutely 3-0 whoever makes it to the finals, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead. Neeb versus Mana could be fun. Denver versus Mana I think would be very frustrating for Denver, but could happen. Hero Marine versus Neeb is probably what people want, but I am very afraid that that will be a 3-0 stomp. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Currently Neeb is in a good position, showing once again his prowess in the late game. I think there's a lot of times where I see overall Protoss struggle in the late game, kind of this weak side with end-canning results. But even when Neeb doesn't seem to be on his A game, and I think he's on his A game, but he's on his S game right now. I think that's how I would sum it up. If he's on his A game, his late game has always been, it feels like logically it is quite good, even if maybe the actual results aren't what he wanted. But last game he looked really good against Denver. So Stargate opener, which is what Denver has been scouted. He's scouting that with his Overlord, so later Warp Gate, knows it's Stargate. Put 2 and 2 together. Easy enough for a Zerg, with some very few exceptions where Protosses intentionally delay Warp Gate for not Stargate. But that doesn't happen too often. Adept gets a scout in the 3rd hatchery, so says, okay, everything is good for now. And the Oracle will get the follow-up scout in a second here. Thank you very much, Yoza, for the 16-month resub. Resubbers to the Grubbers. You guys come up with such good mottos, man. Recently, the chat came up with it's ZG, not PG. Which really does describe the backseat, in my opinion. Alright, so Void Ray follow-up. Ice and Chrome has been that map to do the thing. All capital letters, the thing. Which is straight into Stargate Carrier. I don't know if Neeb is playing around with that, but... Oh, this Oracle overstayed its welcome. Tisk, 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 tisk. That was just that was actually just a mistake. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucked that the Queen was in position to attack the Oracle as well, but it spent a long time over a Spore Crawler. That was a mistake. Void Array is going to help out, I guess, a little bit in terms of feeling safe. Doing a little bit of the scouting, can help out against some of the early roach attacks, which no Zergs really do anymore against Protoss, but can also get a little bit of harassment done, but if there's even one Queen, honestly, in the main base, Void Array is going to have trouble. And there's 2, so it can't do anything at all. Why is S better than A? I don't know. Ask Arcade Games. Alright, so not going into mass air. Ain't about that life. Neeb ain't like that, man. Not right in the charge on +1. I mean, Denver, I think, has to take that threat seriously, because a lot of Protosses could experiment with it, and at times, Neeb has used his open cup participation to experiment a little bit, so I think it would be worth scouting. It looks like Denver is just going ahead and assuming it's not that. It is not the thing. And, well, he is right. It is not. Just a single Void Ray. Void Ray, please. I think the Void Ray would be very helpful later on. If we assume that there's lurkers, it could help against some lurker run-by defense. It can help against lurker drops, which are kind of coming back a little bit. And just simply put, it could help against, you know, it could scout a run-by, which I think is nice too. Obviously, in this game, Denver didn't have to worry about adepts. So I feel like this is one of those games that would go well for Denver, but Neeb is also very good at macro. And Neeb's macro seems to be, right now, a bit superior. There's a couple reasons for that, though. But right now, Neeb, as he pushes forward into a bunch of roaches, I don't think his attack will go well. He is up 8 probes. He's been up in probes a lot of the time. But his attack is not going to go well. So that's where the asterisk so is putting on. Gonna have to abandon ship. And this is now a little bit scary. I think Denver was planning an all-in, and Neeb did not manage to scout it. Didn't see, I mean, how many queens there necessarily were. They're only attacking 1 or 2 at a time. Didn't see the building Roach Rouser, and didn't have an Oracle to cast Revelation. And the Void Ray was kind of being fancy, trying to do damage, less about trying to scout. And now Neeb starts off this defense by having a kind of awkward attack. He actually left with more than I thought he would, but can he actually hold? He's going to lose control of the high ground in a second. He's going to lose access to free Void Ray damage in a second, too, as the queens get ever closer to his front door. The shield batteries are done. He's got 3 of them as well as an overcharge. He's got a couple of force field, but only a couple, literally just that amount, but they are certainly helpful. Zealot's on top of the roaches. Corrosive Pile is not hitting too much, and the Void Ray finally goes down, but that wasn't a bad start for Neeb. The supplies might look very, very bad for the Protoss, but that's how they're kind of supposed to look when this happens. Denver's Roach Queen all-in still has potential, but Neeb is doing a good job so far after that kind of terrible initial attack. Oh no, an Immortal actually gets caught! Oh no, in the War Prism, he wasn't actually looking at it because he was sending units across the map. A very bold move from Neeb, but I guess he thought he needed to do something because the Zealots wouldn't be able to help out right here. That third Immortal could have been so helpful. Sarkis on the backside, not looking so hot either. And the shield batteries have already been taken out. The Zealots are finding a lot of reinforcements, and the supply is getting a lot closer with every second. Queen's starting to go down. They've run out transfuses. The Immortal juggling is about to start. The Natural has not been broken quite yet, but here we go. 7x is going to fall down. Maybe not quite. He's already going to be warping in Zealots, but those Stalkers, for instance, you can no longer warp those in. Loses 1 Immortal. Stalker warp in is going to be good. 7x4 has not died yet, so the Stalkers are actually warping in. 1 goes down to Corrosive Bio, but the Immortal juggle, it's such a low Immortal. A second one joins into the party, and Denver is not going to break Neeb. Neeb hasn't even pulled the probes into this. He still has 65 workers to 60. His Zealots killed so many reinforcing roaches, and they did their job for sure, but it was all about the defense back at home, I feel. The microing, the just barely good enough macro. Oh my god, the hold is good. And Denver, while he is on 4 bases, has not had any additional tech planted down. Maybe he could start up a Hydro Stand and try and race up the lurkers to play out the rest of this game. But I think he would do that if he saw probes being pulled into him. If he said, okay, maybe I got 15, 20 probes, I can do this, then sure. But without the probes even being pulled into him, yeah, I think he just has to try and all in again. But this will obviously be lacking those queens, no transfuses. Still a heck of a lot of Ravagers, but now up against 4 Immortals, 2 Archons, and 1 or maybe 2, 3, 4 shield batteries? 3 shield batteries and a cannon. The Natural might finally lose its Cyber X core, but no, it still doesn't lose its Cyber X core. Ow! Finally it goes down. But I don't think it matters. Neeb's army is so strong. Ay, ay, ay. I guess he needs to be careful not to be kited to death, but some drones even going down to a Zealot. A single Zealot getting some extra kills here as Denver is desperately pushing in. He did bring queens. I just missed them. They were on the north side instead of the south side, but they barely help. All alone over there. They're not going to do anything. GG. And Neeb is going to take game number 2. Despite being surprised. He walked into an all-in and was like, oh shit. And he still managed to hold. What a guy. What a Protoss. Everyone get on in. Here, Marine did manage to win the other semifinal 3-2, but Mana put up a hell of a fight. More than I thought he would. Looking pretty likely that we'll have a Neeb versus Here Marine finals. But Denver ain't done yet. It does look like so far Neeb has beaten him at both games of Starcraft. Macro and all-in. I guess maybe a third game of Starcraft could be the weirdness. The cheese, you know, totally random. Lol, so random stuff that can happen. But Denver has like never been that guy. Denver throws in all-ins, obviously, but I don't think he ever reaches anywhere close to, like, Bly level of stuff. So Neeb does seem to have Denver beat. And what's mostly concerning is that Denver's, in my opinion, his best bet was that macro game on Pillars of Gold, and he didn't win that. So I am a little worried that this guy in the top right cannot bring it back. But it'd be great if he did. It is Denver. And then the bottom left, up 2-0, he is Neeb. Denver, I mean, just by being one of the more consistent Zergs signing up for these open cups, I think has gained at least a lot of my respects for putting in the work, right? Putting in the hours. Right now, I do think the open cup is some amazing experience for pros, but we've said that about other open cups before, and there's always been a bit of a question mark from individuals, like, oh, it's not really worth it still for XYZ problem. But I think the open cup looks fantastic, giving you that competitive feeling without having your entire career for the next 6 months determined, right? And you're still facing a lot of Europe's best players, and America's best players, like Neeb. Even though they're missing Raynor and Cyril. So, I love that Denver is consistently in the Open Cup, and he's consistently, I want to say, in the round of 8. But his results are not super consistent yet. I wouldn't be surprised in, 10 weeks, something like that Denver is the most reliable Zerg to make it to the round of 4. But as I was saying earlier, it's actually not even that reliable to have a Zerg.
You're doing something right, Captain.
Top 4 doesn't seem to happen as often as you would think. Thank you, Asata SC2 for the 11-month resub. Obviously, Neeb went once again for the early probe block, forcing Denver onto that uncomfortable third. Didn't really utilize it that much in the last game. Denver's queen was quite prepared to help against an Oracle, and there were no adepts to split from left to right, or in this case, kind of north to south. And it is once again going to be a Stargate, so no adept problems. So Denver should get an opportunity to macro. And unlike last game, he's not going to interrupt his own macro by doing it all in. So we'll see how that works out. Probably the best macro game we'll get yet. in the natural, getting that confirmation that nothing is weird. Everdream, fairly popular for the Ling all-in. Especially when the Adept is in the damn little hole here. She moves and changes her size and blah. But not from Denver. Okay, another Void Ray opener. Oh, this is actually opening it up. Void Ray into Oracle. I don't know how much that Void Ray really impacted the whole last game, but it did help. It had a couple little pokey pokes. And one little zappy zap. Little zip zap. And while it, I think, only, probably, it could really only use its Rosonic alignment once, because then it died. I think it did use it. And helped kill a decent number of roaches, but I might have missed it. Because it was awkward because, again, Neeb was pushing into an all-in, and he was like, oh shit, so... if he had, all the knowledge in the world, and then he just sat back and defended, I think that Void Ray actually was like micro to death, and does tons and tons of damage, but it was used a little bit more as an emergency last game. Anyways, the Void Ray was helpful. It's still proved to be a decent starter unit. Oh, Neeb's changing things up. Neeb's gonna go into Resonant Glades after Stargate. Ooh, this could be a big surprise. Anyways, it's a good starter unit. It used to be. There was a time where a Void Ray first or second was not that uncommon. But it was super expensive and basically just like, oh, just get good scouting. Just be on top of your scouting, you don't need a Void Ray. But now that it's gotten its cost reduced a little bit, we're back to being like, well, it does the thing a Phoenix would do, it can do a little bit of harassment like an Oracle, and it can help against any earlier attacks, or even mid-game attacks. So I actually am very on board with the Void Ray as an opener. I am not on board with Void Ray as a thing. So let's go Void Ray all the time. Denver needs to get on board with some scouting. He does not know about the follow-up quite yet. It could just be a charge lot forge, and he I don't think he can really tell the difference with the current setup. Maybe if he saw the lack of fourth gas, maybe if he...
Thank you for becoming a member.
Well, if he saw the amount of depths... There we go now. Yeah, if he saw the amount of depths, then yes, he would know. Or, well, actually, I don't even know if that's true. These are depths I think you know. Because there's the, 7, random amount of depths that can come through, and there's, 10 or 11 of depths, and well, now we see is the upgrade, of course, as well, and there's the knowledge he's got there, but yeah, he was so late to responding to this. He had no idea this was on the way. Roach is actually being attacked by the Adept, not usually a good sign. Some other Roaches pop out, maybe in the nick of time to help, forcing Neeb to disengage from just taking on the army and to re-engage into Adept shading every which way. That is what they're going to do. It's 2 drones. So far, so okay. Also might get some scouting done. Drones in the main will have to be pulled. So there we go. Josh. It's always like, well, this is going okay. And then very suddenly it stops going okay. 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe. The 2 Adepts in the natural actually doing a lot more damage as these Adepts in the main do shade out. Oh, the Adepts in the natural. Oh my god, man. Were there some over here? No, I think it was mostly the natural. 20 drones go down. 3 Adepts left. That's not a lot of Adepts. Denver may be able to go and threaten Neeb across the map, but he's not. No, actually, I take it back. He can't. I thought maybe he'd have a few more units, but he really doesn't. He's down to 4 Roaches and a Ravager. 7 Queens, though, for some reason. It's like he did want to go for the all-in and decided not to. It's a lot of Queens. Anyways, he is mostly dependent on the Spire. Now, that's the interesting thing. The Spire has not been scouted, and now the Queens are doing a damn good job of actually hiding the presence of that Spire. This could get interesting. Maybe. Thank you very much, Gauntlet Wizard, for the 5 gifted subs, as well as Diggle Duggle for the single gifted sub. Thank you very much, guys. Now, Denver can't really just blow all of his cash on the Spire immediately, especially because it's kind of scary. I mean, Neeb had a well-timed 3rd base, was probably saturating it while he was attacking you, and who knows what's happening behind it. It could be a swift charge at Archon attack, or in this case, it was actually double immortal, but he didn't know that. So, it's such a difficult decision for Denver to make. He actually goes into a lot more Roaches, which is actually the worst thing he could probably do. Since Neeb has so many Immortals already. If he had gone into 10 Mutas immediately, he'd already get the ball rolling, but he also might have poked the bear. cause Neeb to go across the map. At this point, he's going to have 7 mutas and then 14 roaches against this army of Neeb. As Neeb has 9 gateways. His army is going to get a lot more intimidating real quick. Hitting with charge and +1 as well. Void Ray and Oracle both finding little run-by squad. I guess is what you would call it. And Neeb is not going to recall home, it looks like. This might be the right call. Yeah, because I don't think the Nexus dies, right? So he just pulls the probes away. Mutants are going to find the Warp Prism. Yes, they do, and that's pretty important, but 2 Archons are already available, so while more Stalkers can't be warped in, 2 Archons, 3 Sentries, and a Guardian Shield actually ain't so bad against just 7 mutas. 3rd hatch is going to go down, 4th hatch is not mining, and the Roaches are desperately trying to return home to help out, but I do believe Neeb has just won this game. I'm going to call it over too soon, but this is looking desperate for Denver. He's sending his mutas into the main base. There's a single cannon trying to help out against that. Couple Force Fields go down on the offensive as Neeb decides to take his engagement. Colossus obviously fake isn't helping as much as these Immortals. 4 Archons now down to 2, now down to 1. 4 Immortals, little left alone at this point. Might just end up falling with no Warp Prism to juggle him, but it doesn't matter. GG. Neeb was not taking enough damage back at home for Denver to try and, base race this or something. Plus, I think his Spire died, so couldn't really base race.